It's currently 10:06 p.m. I just finished the finer details of the belt, which is essentially an ostrich pattern, according to the reference image that I got from a web page that I based this polystyrene drawing project's belt on to some extent. I didn't copy it exactly. I spent much of today finishing the back of the belt, and then once I did that, primarily during the morning and afternoon hours, and then I spent essentially the late afternoon and early evening hours, and then up to about now, working on continuing the ostrich pattern onto the sides, the back, and then the other side, starting from here and ending here. I don't recall getting up for today until about 10 in the morning. About half an hour later, I prepared 2 peanut butter and jelly bagel sandwiches and had them with my first cup of coffee for today. I recall waking up around 6:45 in the morning, and briefly talking with my dad, but then I went back to sleep. And I recall waking up and going back to bed roughly from 7 to about 10 in the morning. At first today, I had the windows closed here. And as a result, this room was a little warmer than the first floor of the house. To the point where it cooled down whenever I went down the stairs, whether that was to prepare a meal or to have a glass of tap water using a glass like this one or something similar to it. But then I recall sometime after I had some donut holes Dad saved for me. I had those donut holes around 3 p.m. And by that point, I was on the last of the coffee I had today. I had coffee roughly from 10:30 in the morning to about 3:30 p.m. I only opened the window that's closer to me first, turning the blinds open, then putting them up, pulling them up, and then opening that window in order to let a cooling breeze in. I always keep the screen down. If I recall yesterday, Dad inadvertently showed me that the screen on the window frame can be moved up. But the breeze can still get in, even with the screen down. And I don't want insects to get in this room. More so than they do from time to time. I recall seeing some flying insect in here in the afternoon. I haven't seen it since. I just ignored it at the time. Dad put some fried pork rinds into the meatloaf, although I couldn't really detect those pork rinds in the meatloaf while I was eating it. Though while Dad was preparing the meatloaf, he offered some of the fried pork rinds to me as he was having some himself after putting some into the meatloaf. And I accepted. Those fried pork rinds were pretty good. Nice and crunchy, savory. This was sometime between 7:30 p.m. and 8 p.m. I'll most likely work on the knee pads next. Throughout the day, in between brief periods of working on polystyrene drawing project, I would play Merged Kingdom for the most part, with periods of time primarily in the mid to late afternoon, early evening hours, in which I played both Raid Heroes games on Kongregate. First Raid Heroes Total War, and then Raid Heroes Sword and Magic. And not too long ago I got the last badge for that game, in which I reached, I think it's a stage 160 in the main raids, though a stage can take at most a minute and a half to beat, so ultimately it wasn't that difficult, but it did take some time to ultimately reach that goal. Period of some weeks, if I recall correctly, of spending a bit of time each day on average working at it.